There's a player that's been in tremendous form, Willian, even against PSG. He gave Verratti and Thiago Motta a really hard time when he started running with the ball. Looks as though Chelsea are going to try and press high up the field to stop Man City playing out from the back. Caballero is going to have to go long with this first kick.
Well, he hates missing out, and he's still one appearance away from 700 for Chelsea. And of course, he's made it public that Chelsea haven't as yet, and maybe will not offer a new contract for next season. The captain, leader, legend, as the banner always states here, John Terry is to the supporters. It's not quite to the ownership at the moment. Yo-yo, knock it long. So it's Gary Cahill and Branislav Ivanovic as the central defensive pairing. Baba Rahman at left back, and Cesar Azpilicueta is pushed forward here ahead of Fabregas. He's playing in his natural position of right back, which he hasn't been able to occupy too often because Ivanovic has been out there. It's been Terry and Zuma in centre of the defence mostly, both of them injured. Zuma for a long time, sadly. Hazard trying to link with Costa, made by Manu Garcia, and then Alish Garcia playing his part as well. They're two Spaniards but not related. Garcia, a very common name in Spain. And here is Fapala. This could be a sensational start for the forward who's just turned 19 from France. Nicely to Fernando. From Kolarov to Demichelis.
What a good bit of play it was by Fapala. So playing the European Championships at junior level. Certainly is a real talent. Plenty of pace. He's got a bit of trickery as well.
Fabregas. Nicely done by Kolarov. It's as though Manuel Pellegrini's just said, go on, go out and express yourselves and see where that takes us. Kolarov loves to get forward, of course. Salina towards Iheanacho. He scored 3 at Aston Villa in the last round. Draw hasn't been too kind to City, has it, Stuart? Because they were away to Norwich, Premier League team, away to Villa. A back pass for Caballero to deal with, and he did deal with it. And now away to Chelsea.
Yeah, it's been difficult for them. What was a good sign there? Dara Dioyo looks as though he's got real pace, the centre-back, up against Diego Costa. The ball was played over the top, and we've seen in recent times that Diego Costa has looked a lot quicker and a lot sharper. It's good from the centre-back.
That's good work there from Alish Garcia too, and the pass. Not quite linking up with the Fapala that time.
French international. They are going to play with 2 up front. It does mean there's going to be a lot of pressure on Garcia and Fernando in that central midfield area. Alish Garcia started the game well. He's played round pressure. What a good moment this was. Miscontrols the ball there. Just sends Cahill the wrong way. Chops it back across him. Little nutmeg there. Tries to go in at the near post. Courtois was ready for it. It's also a good height for the goalkeeper.
Fabregas. Azpilicueta and Diego Costa have been masked up recently because of facial injuries. And several other Chelsea players in recent months as well. I think calling them a team of Zorros.
Going back to Azpilicueta, I thought he had a great game against PSG. He was often outnumbered as the right back. Pedro tried to work hard with him. I thought that Hiddink would bring back Matic into the team for this match. Fabregas defended poorly against PSG.
And there's Pedro trying to do a bit of defending from the front over on that far side. Thibaut Courtois, making sure he kept his distance from Ivanovic. Willian. A bit of rain over the weekend here in the London area. Premier League pitches train so well these days. It's quite a mild afternoon. A bit premature to say a hint of spring, but we're all hoping. Iheanacho. Fabregas, sorry Stuart.
Front two trying to link up with each other. It's a good ball played in by Zabaleta to start with. Iheanacho looking to run in behind. It's a good start by Man City.
Just spun to stay in for Hazard. Willian. Same team but very different circumstances for Chelsea to Tuesday night, where they were on the back foot for much of the evening, defended pretty purposefully. Not so purposeful there from Ivanovic in the first place, and Cahill says, well, I'll knock it to where they can't score.
At the moment they're trying to attack down this right hand side. Chelsea's left. Baba Rahman loves to get forward. There's been a couple of times where he's been caught high up the field, the ball's been played in behind him. Ivanovic has had to come across and defend big areas. Zabaleta played a brilliant ball down the line not so long ago.
Zabaleta was a substitute when they won the Cup in 2011 and then sent off in the FA Cup final. It's only a small but far from notable list of players who've had red cards on the big day. And they lost to Wigan, of course, which was a real shock. The end of the Roberto Mancini reign.
I think he already knew he was going before that game, didn't he, Roberto Mancini?
Pellegrini has been knowing he's going at the end of the season for a while, and it hasn't helped City to very good results, losing at home to Leicester and then Tottenham. To be fair, two teams above them in the Premier League. Back-to-back home defeats for the first time for over 7 years in league games. Hero's being asked to swing that left boot a bit more often than he wants in these early minutes.
Doesn't look comfortable on his left side. This thought he actually took his touch onto his left foot, then looked uncomfortable, chipping it straight into touch. Cahill may have a problem here. Niazga is on the bench.
20-year-old Matt Niazga, signed from New York Red Bulls in the January transfer window. Really one for the future, but his future might be the debut in the next couple of minutes. He's getting ready. Played once for the USA at senior level. The medical men, who neither of whom started the season doing the jobs that they're doing now, as I'm sure you'll remember from the contretemps between Jose Mourinho and then first team physio and doctor at the start of the campaign here. It's a bad omen for the great manager. Pavaraba. Interesting news from Milan this morning, Stuart. One of the directors there, Jose Mourinho, was a guest at the Inter game, and when asked the director about whether Mourinho might be coming to Milan, he said no, he's going to Manchester. We keep hearing that from every source but an official one, being Manchester United, of course, not Manchester City, who have already inked in Pep Guardiola. Hazard, just a little cameo of how things haven't gone for him this season. To take it on and get to the byline.
When he got past the first challenge, Zabaleta showed him the line. Just took too heavy a touch. There hasn't been the same spark about him. That change of pace that he had last year, that change of direction, able to go past people with ease. Just haven't seen it this year.
Won so many individual awards for his contribution to Chelsea winning the title. Indeed, the League Cup as well. Misjudged by Demichelis. Kolarov fighting hard for the right to win the header, and fairly enough, although Diego Costa on the receiving end.
Cahill back on the pitch, looks as though he's okay for the moment. Gary Cahill.
And goes Mikel, free kick. And Diego Costa, as though got it a bang in the face, maybe below the mask. Let's see.
He almost gets hit on the back of the head, then the arm comes back down from Kolarov. Kolarov jumps early, Diego Costa doesn't jump for it. Not sure there was too much intent from Kolarov. But when you have had a facial injury, any sort of whack on it is going to hurt.
Willian. Azar. Willian again. It's very dangerous from outside the penalty area. Ivanovic. Cahill looks okay. Azpilicueta. This revamped Manchester City side have put through what can be a testing early spell in the game. In position trying to exploit any lack of cohesion.
Certainly got a good shape about their defending so far, Man City. When you're looking at Chelsea's options, passing options, don't seem too great at times. Certainly not forward passes.
It's Pedro. Goes again and hits the post. Well, they suddenly look vulnerable then. Pedro, they've got a couple of goals here against Newcastle in the last match on this ground. Pumping Chelsea win. Mikel. Fabregas. Spun in by Raman. I'm not sure he was looking to get it on target, but it was a ball that needed smothering away by Caballero.
Well, this is a chance made out of Barcelona here. Square 1-2. Fabregas playing it back into the path of Pedro. Does everything right. It's a good first touch. He just tries to lift it over the goalkeeper. Good play from the wide man.
Fabregas with the corner. Caballero with the catch.
Here it is again, the square 1-2. Fabregas looking one way, then reversing it back into... Caballero actually slipped over as he went to close the ball down. Inside he gets that touch and then just tries to wrap his left foot round it.
He must have thought, the goalkeeper, that when it went past him it was going to end up in the back of the net. Just caught on the lower part of the inside of the foot from Pedro, which he wasn't in total control of the final output.
With a sign that Pedro is beginning to settle in at Chelsea. He worked really hard against PSG in midweek.
He and Fabregas almost inseparable off the pitch as well. It's a friendship that, of course, brings its harmony on the pitch, as we saw just then. He wants to go out in some style, but maybe the FA Cup kept using the word priority, or lack of it in this case. And you wouldn't say, I mean, Kiev away is a tough trip. Not necessarily the hardest draw to get at this stage of the Champions League.
You're absolutely right. That's the combination of games with the League Cup final against Liverpool next week, next Sunday.
He has got injured players. Kevin De Bruyne, of course, who was here at Chelsea for a while. He surfaced in England at Manchester City, and
he's got a bloody nose here. That challenge of...
We're going to need another mask, do you think?
I think they've got plenty of them spare.
They've all got one. They've all got their numbers on them, so they must have a complete set for the squad. And Cahill's had to wear one in the past as well.
Tyler was the player that went for the challenge. He's got to go off the field again. There's the first challenge. Nothing that the centre forward does wrong there. It's just a good honest leap for the ball.
And the blood regulations very strictly applied these days. And the medical men would say that's absolutely rightly so. Fabregas. And Costa could be here first. Adebayo defending. Probably the most difficult spell he's had in his very short, 16-minute first-team career, but he came out on the right side of it.
He was a bit unlucky because he won the first ball in the air, then fell to Fabregas, who just played it straight in behind him. Costa was away from him. Almost looks as though he was going to get the better of Di Michelis. With a good recovery run. Adebayo.
Lovely touch from Hazard. He's here again, giving himself an angle for the shot. Iheanacho playing a bit deeper than Paupala. He can't get his side up the pitch, and here comes Willian. And City grateful for that in the end.
I think Pedro had made his run, then realised he was offside. There's the young centre-back. Michelis comes across. Wins the challenge there. And I think he's absolutely right, the referee, Andre Mariner, not to give the penalty. That's a good challenge. Then he just about wins the ball with that right foot, and Diego Costa was already going to ground before the contact was made. He's off balance here. He's actually just trying to step across the centre-back. Adebayo, and then he has a little look at the referee, Diego Costa.
Clip ball from Manu Garcia. He's working hard, David Paupala. There will be critics of Manchester City here, but there'll be the same critics who say, well, young players don't get enough chance in the game these days. And, all right, only one of the City players are either playing for the first time or starting a game in the first team for the first time. Only one is English. Adebayo, who was also qualified for Nigeria and could still, if you like, make the choice of the land of his fathers, but getting first team football here, which, if you don't get it at the ages of 17, 18 or 19, maybe you'll never be ready for it if it ever comes later on. It's too much under 21 football against other under 21 teams. It's a man's game, but you've got to be in a first team to show you are a man. Willian.
Pellegrini's taken a gamble by playing with a young squad, but also playing with two up front, which you'd expect Chelsea to dominate midfield.
Diego Costa to the Manchester City supporters, as you might gather from the reaction from that part of the stadium, the crowd giving Diego Costa a bit of jip, but he's quite used to that. He's the kind of player that you'd call provocative.
I think he'd be disappointed if he wasn't getting a bit of stick off the away fans.
Ivanovic, who has 3 FA Cup winners' medals, has had a spell of real domination in this competition. They did lose one of the great shocks of last season here to Bradford City in the 4th round. After being 2-0 up, they were beaten 4-2. And it was the end of a run of 27 FA Cup ties at Stamford Bridge without defeat prior to that. One here this season already against the Scunthorpe United. Willian, Fabregas waiting on the edge of the area. Trying to squeeze it through for Hazard.
Well, Man City, as they do, and they've got their first choice back 4 out. As soon as Fabregas took his touch backward, they squeezed up, tried to play offside. Chelsea's front players had to get back onside before Fabregas played the ball forward. It was just too heavy. On that occasion, it was good defending by Man City.
By Hazard. Yo did well. And Garcia stopping Chelsea getting forward. Only played once, these two clubs, in the FA Cup here at Stamford Bridge. And it was the season after Chelsea had won the Cup for the first time. They were the holders. And, it was 1970-71. In the fourth round, City won 3-0. 2 goals from that great midfield player of his time, Colin Bell. And one from Ian Bowyer, not really remembered as a Manchester City player, but more with Nottingham Forest. And of course, he won the league and the European Cup. Fabregas. Zabaleta's header was a bit of a stray one, but it was collected by Selena. Mikel. Into Apala. Here's Manu Garcia. Now Kolarov, plenty forward for City. Bit of a clash, isn't there, between the goalkeeper's kit and City's strip as well?
Yeah, it certainly is. Wasn't a good ball by Kolarov in the end. Such a good left foot when he breaks forward. He was just trying to pass that in behind the back four of Chelsea.
Hazard. Willian. Alex Garcia from the challenge. So they found Azpilicueta. Pedro. Fabregas. This time it was Pedro to Fabregas to the shot, and Caballero clutched it gratefully.
He found a lot of space here, Fabregas. He's one of the holding midfield players, but found that bit of space in behind Diego Costa. Just the movement of Diego Costa in the challenge couldn't close the ball down. The Yo-Yo eventually went to try and do it.
There's Garcia. More comfortable with his right foot, Willy Caballero. Challenged by Zabaleta. Mistake by Babarama, and he's fouled in the end.
It's a wonderful cross over the ball, isn't he? Babarama, we saw that against PSG, that cross he delivered for Diego Costa, where he should have scored in the first half. That's where he loves to be, high and wide up on this left-hand side.
The feeling with Chelsea getting back here today is that we're okay about even a defeat, but there's a real chance of making up the ground and more in the second leg. It's been very tight. It's the third year in a row that Chelsea played Paris Saint-Germain, and the third time in 4 seasons they played Manchester City in the FA Cup. Here's Hazard. Willian. Using Azpilicueta as a decoy. It's too long for Pedro, well read by Caballero, coming out at pace.
Now the front players aren't the ones that need to make the forward runs. It needs a midfield player running from slightly deeper. Man City have done it all season. Watch how they squeeze up here. They start to squeeze. Oh, it's a tight one. The Yo-Yo, I thought, was level with Pedro. That's a big gamble, playing such a high line when the players are running across the field with the ball. He needs a good run from a midfield player, and they'll be in for Chelsea.
High foot from Fernando. Nothing sinister or malicious, but free kick to Chelsea, which will keep it close order. Fabregas. Mikel. Hazard. Between two, it comes to Babarama. He's got a chance to show this crossing ability now. It was not so much the direction, but the fact it came on the bounce to Caballero that caused the problem.
Does he try and catch this, or does he just try and shovel it away in the end? There it is, it just bounces in front of him. Well, I think he just tries to shovel it away. Strange technique used by Caballero.
Clubs have only met once in the league this season. That was very early on in Manchester. City won at a canter 3-0. Not too much for Joe Hart to do in that game. But it was maybe the first sign, Stuart, that all was not going to be well for Jose Mourinho in the defence of the title.
Well, I think it was also the time where he took off John Terry, wasn't it, at half-time? Questions were being asked about that. He definitely wasn't injured.
Certainly scheduled to come here in the middle of April for a return game in the league, and I would venture to suggest that there won't be too many of this team starting. Mind you, if they win here, it might be a different view. It's 0-0. They've one or two awkward moments. Pedro's hit the post. Here he is again. Azar. Pedro. Diego Costa. Zabaleta, who just got it over Navarraman and out of immediate harm's way. And good pressing by Manu Garcia.
The young players have done well defensively.
Willian. Nicely worked to Azar. Goes beyond Zabaleta and lines up across here. No one far post. And Kolarov shows that he is one of the more experienced members of the side. Very coolly done.
Really, Chelsea didn't have enough players in the box. Diego Costa had made the run to the near post. Isn't too much else on for Hazard. He's got that left foot crossing.
Two Garcias with her into play. Ball out by Courtois. Also trying to build from the back. More than a ripple of applause for that, the home goalkeeper. Willian. Azpilicueta. Darted into that little pocket of space. Fabregas. Azar. Fabregas, Diego Costa, a bit slow ball sometimes from Chelsea, and City able to reposition. Fabregas still holding the conductor's baton. It's a fairly meaty cross from Pedro, kept in by Azar. Out for Navarraman. He sees the movement here. Pedro, who won't have seen the flag, but it's up.
There you see it again, Man City. As soon as Chelsea start to pass backwards or square, they squeeze up. It's been their Achilles heel at times this season. When they do it right, it's okay, but Pedro again, I think it's a very tight decision.
It's onside, isn't it?
I
level.
think he is. He was level the previous time.
I think we've learnt from many years of experience the angles, even of our cameras, sometimes distort the actuality of it all, but what we were able to see on our screens and your screens then, the kind of one the attacker should get the benefit from.
As he should have done a little while ago as well. But it's a risky ploy to hold that line. Chelsea have got time on the ball and players make little runs. Diallo is the player that was in line, but it's not his fault. Other players are squeezing up far too quickly. Don't need to squeeze up in those areas, just defend it properly.
That's up. And they've got a foot in. Zabaleta in the challenge. Nice change of direction by Manu Garcia. Alex Garcia. Demichelis. He's going to have a Javi Garcia, of course, Manchester City as well. Just as well he's moved on. identification here. I'm sure you're learning about these players with every pass, every touch of the ball, and they certainly haven't let their club down so far. Manchester City. Fernando. Nicely worked to Zabaleta. It wasn't the worst ball forward. Pala maybe didn't quite see it coming, maybe he couldn't have got there. Zabaleta looking a bit quizzical in that direction.
Well, when the ball came out to Zabaleta, we were right behind him here. That was the ball to play. Pala didn't see it early enough. Cahill's not somebody who tries to squeeze up. He was running back. Pala was in between the two centre-backs. It was the perfect delivery by Zabaleta.
Willian. Oh, that was a very noble attempt by Pedro, who hasn't given up yet. He was claiming he was fouled. Kolarov was saying Pedro handled it. Andre Mariner said, get on with it.
He does well just to keep the ball in play here, gets up quickly. Kolarov just tries to shield the ball and he actually runs beyond it, but it is handball from Pedro as well. That's the poor side of Kolarov. We know he can get forward, deliver great crosses. Excellent footballer, but I'm not always convinced by his defensive qualities.
It was the inside of Kolarov, and that got danger to Manchester City. Papala, Iheanacho.